before
So
I
this
will
is
actually
now
know if
the
it works.
OpenAI API that I've changed this file.
I've got to admit, I have never used AWS before. It's Wednesday morning and there's one thing that I need to do. But if you're new, the idea for my app is to help people who study however they study. And using some programming magic, I can take notes that users submit and automatically generate flashcards, as well as a study assistant that's entirely trained off of your notes. But before we can even think of pushing the app to production, we need to make sure that it can handle more than a single user, which right now it can't do. So something I just figured out. I spent the last hour or so learning as much as I can about AWS because I've got to admit, I have never used AWS before.
With there being so many services to choose from, I ended up deciding on using an S3 bucket to host my website. And in the future, this would cause me so many headaches.
I feel like I'm going crazy. This is how I think it's gonna work. Now, I want to preface this by saying I have no idea what I'm doing, but process, file storage. This will likely be detected by, we take the text, convert it to the vectors. There's probably parts of that aren't right, but overall, it gives me a task list. I can go through each one of the steps of the process and then figure out everything that I can about each one of those steps, see what I don't know, see what isn't working, and then go at it that way. Instead of what I've been doing, which is just looking at the full thing and saying, I need to do all of this, and I have no idea where to start. It's a little bit later than usually when I start. Reason for that is because I slept in a bit too late. Today what I have to get through, the site up and hosted on an S3 bucket, handle file uploads and storage in another S3 bucket. I should be able to do all of that. Usually when I'm estimating how long it'll take me to do something, it usually ends up taking me a bit longer. But first, I have to get some food. So things in classic fashion are not working again. What I've been trying to do for the past 30 minutes has been hosting the React on Amplify because I don't have a domain that I could use for the S3. I don't know.
And after debating with it for a little while, I ended up just deciding on purchasing a domain, even though it was going to cost a little bit of money. Then after getting the domain, I had to go into the settings of my domain provider and point the name server towards AWS so that I could use that domain for my S3 bucket instead of having to switch everything over to Amplify.
So I got the domain, I set it up, and I put it up with AWS, and it's going to take a bit of time before I will actually know if it worked. I'm gonna keep checking tonight. My assumption is if I come back tomorrow and it isn't up, then something's probably wrong. But progress is being made, and that's what matters. So in full honesty, I thought that I messed some part of it up and it would just not work, but pleasant surprise. You can see, yep, get the animation and everything. Go through everything and make sure everything's good since this is public facing. Make sure my API keys are not in there. That's what I'm gonna go through and do.
So after working for a little bit longer on getting file uploads working, I started to realize that there might be an issue.
So the real thing is that I've been working on was I started looking at file uploads, and then I realized anybody could upload files if I added file uploads. Along with that, right now my OpenAI API key was just in there because I completely forgot to take it out. So first thing I did was take out all my important stuff. My goal is really to just see how far I can go. Get as much done as I can, learn as much as I can, because come July there's going to be 3 or 4 more of me, so it'll be a bit easier to get through all of this. That's how we're looking. So this is now the third time that I've changed what's going on with the React hosting, and it's mainly because I have no idea what I'm doing. But here's the issues that I've been having. When I set up through an S3 bucket, I end up with the issue of now it's really complicated to handle things. And along with that, I am struggling to figure out how to access S3 stuff through React, with a library. I'm probably doing something wrong, but it just doesn't really make sense to me. I keep thinking that I might want to just switch over to Firebase. Supposedly Firebase is significantly easier to set up for backend, but I believe AWS will scale better. And the other benefit of using AWS is that a lot of the stuff that we've already been doing is set up with AWS already. I don't know. We'll keep going. I might just end up using Amplify again. We'll see. I ended up deciding to just continue with using Amplify. And my reasoning behind it, having it already on AWS would force me to learn AWS and AWS services. Aside from that, I've also just been using Amplify already for a few days, and we've been using AWS for a couple months to host things. It just made sense to just stick with AWS. And what is happening now, I've been working on handling file uploads, and it looks like it's working. And I say that, but I'm still getting an error. But the error that I'm getting, because I set it so you have to be an authenticated user in order to upload files, and I haven't set up authenticated users yet, so obviously I'm not going to be able to upload files. But the error that I'm getting is access denied, you're not an authenticated user, and it's not something that's like your code's broken. So that's a good sign, because my goal was to just try and get through as much as I can in 3 days, and it's day 3. I haven't gotten as far as I was hoping to.